Hello everyone, this is In the Zone Sports with our very first video. We're talking about the new Phoenix Rising head coach appointment, Pa-Modou. We'll be giving everyone some context on Pau himself, trying to shine a new light on what we're going to expect from our brand new Phoenix Rising head coach appointment. Now, there was a Phoenix Rising event at Pale House Brewery where Coach Pa was able to give us information about himself, explained himself some background, and where us fans could ask him some questions. I want to give everyone a summary of what I was able to gather, what I was able to note take from the whole experience, what I was able to gather about Pa himself. To give Coach Pa's background, he was born in Gambia, Africa. He moved to Norway when he was at a really young age, 8. He even has said himself that while he was in Gambia, the only sport really available to him was soccer. So as soon as he came to Norway and got into the professionals, he played as a defender in was still mainly in Norway and in Sweden. He did do some time at the Netherlands and in the Middle East as well, but eventually he wound himself out in the MLS teams of course, the Portland Timbers and the Vancouver Whitecaps around 2013 to 2016, around that time. His managerial career started off with the Vancouver Whitecaps, first the Vancouver Whitecaps 2 team, and then he went on to be a full-time staff member at the Vancouver Whitecaps proper. He went over to the Cincinnati, being not just an assistant coach, but also a scout as well. He then went on to be the head coach for the MLS Next Pro team, the North Texas, the FC Dallas's MLS Next Pro, and he then went on to be a Charlotte coach, the assistant for it under Dean Smith. He has had success in all those spots. He also went over to the Pacific FC Canadian team in the Canadian Premier League, where he did win a championship for them as well. Now, to get into the more meat of the questions that he was asked, a lot of the very biggest ones was, of course, the players. What is he wanting to have as the archetypes of players that he wants? Okay, every coach has their own style. I know as a Charlotte fan, Dean Smith has a very different style than what Coach Latazio, I believe was his name, the coach before him, had as his players that he wanted. And Coach Pa really outlined desire to play, specifically, of course, desire to play here, specifically in Phoenix. I know it seems kind of like an obvious thing to say. Of course, you want players that are going to be here, but I mean, it is a proper concern. Of course, players, it is the USL. Let's not kid ourselves. This is not Premier League in England. This is not Barcelona. This is not Real Madrid. This is a USL side, and some people may not exactly like the grind that the USL may pose to them. So I do believe that it is a valid concern for Pa to have, that he does want players that genuinely want to be here, that know what they're getting into, that know that Phoenix Rising does have high expectations. It is just a USL side, but I believe the fans have a very high expectation of what we want as results. Another question that he was really asked multiple times just by not only the host but by some other fans as well was what he was going to provide to the team. What experiences did he have? Of course, he does have MLS experience as a player. He's been in America quite a while. He knows player development. He understands all those aspects of it, but also being a assistant, especially in Charlotte, do know that he specifically pointed out the fan capacity, 70K fans. I mean, that is valid to have a coach that knows what 70,000 fans in the stadium feels like, what that responsibility means. I feel that's a valuable skill to have as a coach on any level, really, whether it's USL, the MLS, out in Europe. I think that's a valuable skill to have for a coach. One of the most insightful questions that was asked was by a fan who wanted to know if Coach Pa would rather have a 5-4 win or a 1-0 win. Now, as initially I thought that Coach Pa was going to say 1-0, but surprisingly, Coach Pa said 5-4. It really came as a surprise to me. Of course, a Charlotte FC fan like myself, and seeing all their games, would know that they like to play rather slow. They go out from the back a lot. They are all about possession, and if they win 1-0, then fantastic. Everyone goes into the locker room happy as can be. Specifically, Coach Pa referenced that to the fan that wouldn't you want to see more goals? And to be fair, I have to agree with them that of course I would love to see goals. I think that the play style of wanting to get 5 goals over just 1 is much more entertaining. It offers a much better product for fans. It's going to want people to come back much more. I think for at least in these lower levels of USL that it's much better to have these high-scoring games where people are going to be energized, where the crowd's going to be into it, rather than just a 1-0 game. I think that's a very good philosophy to have. And in reference to that high attacking mindset that Coach Pa seemed to have, he did say that the formation he would go with would be a 4-3-3. I assume with the personnel that we have that it will require a lot from the wingers. I'll try to give up a video more encompassing what I believe is probably going to be worked on from him, but that'll be for later. But it does seem that he does want to be more offensive. He does want things to probably be coming from the wingers and possibly more creative thinking from the team. Last questions that he was asked, which I gave him, was that, at least in my research of going for Coach Pa and looking at his different tenures, I did find a video when he was in Pacific FC and referred to the locker room culture that he liked for his teams. And a lot of it revolved around the familial feeling and atmosphere that he had for his locker rooms, where he thought that it would be best if the coach and the players, and of course the players between the players, were all almost like a family. And it was very interesting. So I wanted to see that, of course, it was 3 years ago. I wanted to see if it may have evolved, may have changed. And then from what Coach Pa told me and what he gave me as an answer was that it seemed to be the exact same. He still believes that in that familial style of locker room, which seems to be a little, I would say a lot of people would reference being a new age of coaching, where it's not so much you keep the players at an arm's length, but you instead approach them as people. Where he really referenced being like a father to them, where he'll be a brother to them, where he wants to know all their problems, whether they're personal, whether there's mental problems, that he wants to know about them. And I think that is what a lot of people would consider to be new age. I do understand that some people will have reservations about that coaching style, and of course, if it doesn't go as planned, if the team does go off to a bad start, I do expect people may raise alarm bells, may cause concern for that typical coaching style. If you look at a different sport, American football, and some recent events that are going on with specifically Josh McDaniels at the Dolphins, a lot of criticisms are coming from former players, former coaches, that his style is a little bit lackadaisical, a little bit too player-friendly, where it is causing some questions with locker room culture and things like that. And of course, losing does not help with any of those things. Losing never helps with any problems. But especially when you are a quote-unquote soft kind of head coach like that, it doesn't help when that kind of grit of the previous teams may not be very apparent and you're losing. We're tying Phoenix Rising back into this. Our championship winning squad did seem, at least from what I could tell, was that we did have some grit. We did have toughness. I mean, so many times throughout the playoffs, we were down, we were out, we should have lost, but the team kept coming back. We kept grinding out wins. It always came down to the very last minute. We love to do that. We love to cause some heart attacks within our fans. But the Phoenix Rising squad of that championship year, they kept coming back through thick and thin, through blood, sweat, and tears. They came back always late in games. So if Coach Pa comes in and we do start losing, I do believe that people will blame Coach Pa a little, whether it's because of tactics, too offensive tactics and enough balance in the defense that some people also did make questions of while we were there. Some fans did ask questions about the defense because it has not looked good for the past year. And you combine that with such a recent championship win, I think there is an expectation that people are going to have for Coach Pa, whether fairly or unfairly, he has that bar that's going to be set for him. And if he doesn't reach it, I do believe people will get slightly mad. I don't think that we're seeing a coaching firing going to happen in mid-season or anything like that, but I do believe that if something bad happens to the team, that we are in the bottom of the table, I do believe that people are going to have some questions for him. Of course, he did say to everyone, trust the process. That was his motto that he gave to us. Ultimately, do I believe that Coach Pa will find success here at Phoenix Rising? And to that, I'd have to say yes, he will find success here at Phoenix Rising. I'm not exactly sure the heights that he will take. I do believe he can absolutely win a championship. He has a resume for it. I like his mentality, both as a player, coach, and his more attacking-minded philosophy that he was going to want to implement here at Phoenix Rising. At the very least, at absolute worst case scenario, I do believe at bare minimum he's going to make this team very entertaining to watch. People are going to want to come and see. People are going to love seeing 4 or 5 goals a game. Of course, that may come with 5 to 6 goals being conceded, but that is still going to be very entertaining for people to watch. People are going to still want to be buying tickets to see those hype moments of goal scoring prowess. And on that note, that is all that I have to give to you guys. That was all the information I was able to gather from the event. It was a very lovely event to go to. Lots of people. I didn't think there would be this much support for Phoenix Rising. Of course, the optimist in me is very happy, but the realist in me was worried that maybe there weren't going to be that many people. But there were so many people, I couldn't find a place to sit down. And Coach Pa was lovely to hear from. I was able to shake his hand, introduce myself, and I was able to ask him a question. Everyone else was very respectable. I really liked the event. And of course, to everyone, I hope you all have a great day, have a lovely day. And of course, we're all going to be hopeful for this next upcoming season for the Phoenix Rising. Thank you guys.